If you are over 60, taking vitamin D3, vitamin K2, and magnesium every single day, doing it consistently, following the recommended amounts, and yet you still feel more tired than you expect, your sleep feels lighter, your bones do not feel as strong, or your energy never quite comes back the way you hoped, then stop for a moment, because this message is meant for you. Here is the hard truth that many people are never told. In most cases, the problem is not that you are missing nutrients. The real issue, especially after 60, is when your body receives them. This is something I hear often from older adults who are doing everything right. They are disciplined, they are careful, they are consistent, and yet the results feel disappointing. That experience is not imagined, and it does not mean supplements have failed you. It means your body has changed the way it listens. This video is not against supplements. It is not asking you to stop taking vitamin D, K2, or magnesium, and it is certainly not suggesting you need higher doses or more pills. What it does explain is this. After the age of 60, the body processes signals differently. Digestion changes. Hormonal rhythms shift. The internal clock that governs energy, sleep, and repair becomes more sensitive. When nutrients arrive at the wrong time, even good ones may pass through quietly without delivering the benefits you expect. In earlier decades, dosage mattered most. After 60, timing and order begin to matter more than the number printed on the bottle. Supplements stop behaving like simple inputs and start behaving like biological signals that must arrive at the right moment to be recognized. That is the focus of this conversation. Not how much more to take, but how to work with the physiology you have now, not the one you had at 40. And if you are over 60, taking supplements daily, and you want to understand how your body's response changes with age, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Here, the goal is calm, science-based guidance for aging well, without fear, without hype, and without forcing your body to do what it no longer does naturally. One of the most important things to understand after the age of 60 is this. Your body is not broken, but it is different. And that difference quietly changes how supplements behave once they enter your system. Many people assume that if a vitamin or mineral worked well at 40, it should work the same way at 60 or 70. Biology does not operate on that assumption. Aging does not shut systems down, but it does change their efficiency, their timing, and their tolerance for error. Let us start with digestion, because this is where everything begins. As we move past our 50s, stomach acid levels gradually decline. This is a normal physiological shift, not a disease. Stomach acid is essential for breaking down nutrients so they can be absorbed. When acid levels are lower, vitamins and minerals may move through the digestive tract without being fully released or utilized. On paper, the intake looks adequate, but biologically, less of it reaches the bloodstream in a usable form. At the same time, digestive enzymes become less efficient. These enzymes are responsible for extracting nutrients from both food and supplements. When their activity slows, absorption becomes less predictable. You may be taking the right supplement, but your body is no longer processing it with the same speed or consistency it once did. Now, consider the liver and the kidneys. These organs play a central role in activating, transporting, and clearing vitamins and minerals. With age, their processing speed naturally slows. This does not mean they stop functioning. It means that timing, spacing, and consistency become far more important. When nutrients arrive too late in the day or all at once, the body may struggle to integrate them smoothly. Overlaying all of this is the internal clock. After 60, circadian rhythm becomes more sensitive. Hormones follow narrower windows. Energy, digestion, and repair are more tightly scheduled than before. Supplements taken without regard for this rhythm may arrive at a time when the body is simply not prepared to receive them. This is where many people become frustrated. They assume the supplement is ineffective, or that aging has made their body less responsive. In reality, the body has become more precise. It responds best when signals arrive at the right moment and in the right order. When supplements are taken at the wrong time, their effect can quietly diminish, not because the science is wrong, but because the timing does not match the physiology of an older body. After 60, success is no longer about pushing harder or adding more. It is about working with the systems as they are now. Once this shift is understood, everything else begins to make sense. Timing matters, order matters, and the same supplements you may have taken for years can begin to work more smoothly when they are aligned with how your body actually functions today. To understand why timing becomes so important after 60, we need to talk about the body's internal clock. This clock, known as the circadian rhythm, is not an abstract concept. It is a biological system that coordinates when hormones rise and fall, when digestion is strongest, and when the body shifts from activity into repair. In younger adults, this system is more forgiving. Signals can arrive early, late, or out of order, and the body often adapts without much consequence. After 60, that flexibility narrows. The internal clock becomes more influential and at the same time more sensitive. The body begins to rely on timing as a way to interpret whether a signal is helpful or disruptive. Hormones are a clear example of this. Cortisol, insulin, melatonin, and growth-related hormones all follow daily patterns. They are released in predictable windows that support waking, eating, moving, and sleeping. When these rhythms are respected, energy feels steadier and recovery feels smoother. When they are disrupted, even subtly, the effects accumulate quietly over time. Digestion follows a similar pattern. The digestive system is most active earlier in the day when the body is prepared to receive and process nutrients. As the day progresses, digestion naturally slows. This shift is normal and becomes more pronounced with age. Nutrients that arrive late in the day may not be absorbed or utilized with the same efficiency, even if the dose itself is appropriate. This is where supplements can begin to miss their mark. When a vitamin or mineral is taken at a time that does not align with the body's rhythm, it may not be recognized as a meaningful signal. Instead of being integrated into metabolism, it becomes background input. Present but ineffective, the supplement has not failed. The timing has. After 60, timing itself becomes a biological message. It tells the body whether a nutrient belongs in the active part of the day or the restorative part of the night. When supplements arrive in the right window, they reinforce natural patterns. When they arrive out of sync, they can feel neutral at best or disruptive at worst. This is why two people can take the same supplement at the same dose and have very different experiences, especially as they age. The difference is often not the product, but the alignment. The body after 60 listens more carefully to when something arrives than to how much arrives. Once this is understood, supplement use becomes less about chasing results and more about cooperation. When timing is respected, the body responds with greater efficiency, using smaller signals more effectively. That shift is one of the keys to supporting health as we age, not by forcing the system, but by working within its natural rhythm. To really understand why timing and order matter so much after 60, we need to look at the central concept of this entire conversation, what I call the D3K2 magnesium triangle. These three nutrients are often discussed separately, but inside the body, they do not act alone. They function as a coordinated system. When one part is missing or mistimed, the entire system loses efficiency. Let us begin with vitamin D3. Most people think of vitamin D as just another supplement for bones, but biologically, it behaves much more like a hormone. Once vitamin D3 enters the body and is converted into its active form, it binds to receptors that influence the expression of hundreds of genes. Many of these genes are involved in immune regulation, inflammation control, muscle strength, and cellular repair. This is why vitamin D affects far more than bone density, especially as we age. It acts as a signal, telling the body how to regulate multiple systems at once. But vitamin D3 does not complete its job on its own. One of its key actions is increasing the absorption of calcium from food. That calcium must then be directed appropriately. This is where vitamin K2 becomes essential. Vitamin K2 functions as a guidance system for calcium. It activates specific proteins that help move calcium into bones and teeth, where it strengthens structure while keeping calcium out of soft tissues such as blood vessels. Without sufficient K2, calcium absorption increases, but placement becomes less precise. Over time, this misdirection matters more, particularly after 60, when both bone integrity and vascular health become more vulnerable. Now we come to magnesium, which is often the most overlooked part of this triangle. Magnesium is not simply a calming mineral. It is a necessary activation key for vitamin D itself. The enzymes that convert vitamin D into its active form require magnesium to function properly. Without enough magnesium, vitamin D remains partially inactive, even if blood levels appear acceptable. In practical terms, this means someone can take vitamin D consistently, see reasonable lab results, and still not feel the benefits because the signal has not been fully activated. When you step back and look at this triangle as a whole, the logic becomes clear. Vitamin D3 provides the hormonal signal. Vitamin K2 ensures calcium is guided to the right destination. Magnesium activates vitamin D and supports nerve, muscle, and metabolic stability. These nutrients are not interchangeable, and none of them fully compensate for the absence of another. This is why disappointing results are so common when supplements are taken in isolation or without understanding their relationship. The science is not flawed, the system is incomplete. After 60, efficiency matters more than excess. When these three nutrients are aligned and supported properly, the body recognizes them as coordinated instructions rather than isolated inputs. Understanding this triangle sets the foundation for everything that follows. Once the system is complete, timing and order stop feeling complicated. They become logical extensions of how the body actually works, especially in the later decades of life. Now, let us talk about vitamin D3 specifically, because this is where timing becomes especially important after 60. Vitamin D does not behave like a neutral nutrient that can be taken at any hour without consequence. It interacts directly with the body's daytime biology. Vitamin D is closely linked to cortisol, one of the body's primary daytime hormones. Cortisol naturally rises in the morning to help you wake up, think clearly, mobilize energy, and coordinate immune readiness. Vitamin D supports many of the same pathways. This connection is not accidental. From an evolutionary standpoint, vitamin D was designed to be produced when sunlight reached the skin during the earlier and middle parts of the day. The body recognizes vitamin D as a daytime signal. Because of this, taking vitamin D later in the evening can feel mismatched for many older adults. After 60, the nervous system becomes more sensitive to timing cues. When vitamin D is taken too late in the day, some people notice that their sleep becomes lighter or more fragmented. They may fall asleep, but wake more easily, or feel that their body does not fully settle into rest. This does not happen to everyone, but it is common enough that it deserves attention. There is a biological explanation for this. Vitamin D appears to influence melatonin signaling indirectly. Melatonin is the hormone that helps the body transition into sleep. When a strong daytime signal, like vitamin D, arrives late, it can blur the boundary between day and night in a system that has already become more sensitive with age. The result is not insomnia in the dramatic sense, but a quieter disruption, lighter sleep, less depth, and less restoration. This is why the morning or early part of the day is often the most supportive time to take vitamin D3. When taken earlier, vitamin D aligns with natural light exposure, cortisol rhythm, and metabolic activity. the body recognizes it as familiar. It fits into a pattern the system already understands, supporting energy and immune balance during the day without spilling into the night. How vitamin D is taken matters just as much as when it is taken. Vitamin D is fat soluble, which means it requires dietary fat to be absorbed efficiently. Taking it on an empty stomach can significantly reduce absorption. This is a common mistake among people who are otherwise very consistent. A simple solution is to take vitamin D with a meal that contains some healthy fat. This does not need to be heavy or complicated. Foods like eggs, yogurt, nuts, olive oil, avocado, or fish provide enough fat to support proper absorption. Consistency also matters. Vitamin D is stored in fat tissue and released gradually over time. Taking it at the same time each day reinforces a stable biological signal. For adults over 60, the goal is not stimulation, it is alignment. When vitamin D is taken in the morning or early day, with food and in a consistent routine, the benefits tend to feel smoother, more natural, and more sustainable over time. Vitamin D does something very important in the body. One of its primary roles is to increase the absorption of calcium from the food you eat. This is why vitamin D has long been associated with bone health, but absorption is only the first step. Once calcium enters the bloodstream, the body still has to decide where that calcium should go. This is where many people misunderstand the process. Calcium itself is not automatically beneficial just because it is absorbed. What matters is placement. Calcium needs to be delivered into bones and teeth, where it strengthens structure and maintains density. At the same time, calcium needs to be kept out of soft tissues, especially blood vessels, where it can contribute to stiffness over time. Vitamin K2 is the nutrient that helps manage this decision. K2 activates specific proteins that guide calcium into the bone matrix and activate other proteins that prevent calcium from settling in arteries. In simple terms, vitamin D opens the door for calcium to enter the body, and vitamin K2 helps direct that calcium to the right destination. Without adequate K2, calcium absorption can increase, but distribution becomes less precise. This does not usually cause immediate symptoms. Instead, it unfolds slowly over years. For younger adults, the body often compensates. After 60, that margin for error becomes smaller. Bone loss and vascular stiffness become more common concerns, and proper calcium placement matters more than ever. This distinction between calcium absorption and calcium placement is critical. Vitamin D alone increases how much calcium enters circulation. Vitamin K2 determines whether that calcium supports bone protection or quietly contributes to vascular stress. That balance is especially important for older adults who want to protect both skeletal strength and cardiovascular health at the same time. This is why pairing vitamin D3 with vitamin K2 becomes more important after 60. The goal is not simply to raise calcium levels, but to manage calcium intelligently. When these two nutrients are taken together, the body receives a coordinated message. Calcium is absorbed, guided, and used in a way that supports long-term stability rather than short-term numbers. From a practical standpoint, the most supportive approach is to take vitamin D3 and vitamin K2 at the same time of day, ideally during the earlier part of the day. This timing aligns with the body's natural rhythm and reinforces a unified biological signal. Instead of separate instructions arriving hours apart, the system receives a clear, synchronized message. As we age, efficiency becomes more important than intensity. Pairing vitamin D3 with vitamin K2 is not about adding complexity. It is about respecting how the body actually handles minerals after 60. When nutrients work together and arrive together, the body responds more smoothly and more predictably over time. Now let us turn to magnesium, because this mineral often works quietly in the background, yet it plays a foundational role in how the body recovers, especially at night. Magnesium is involved in hundreds of biochemical reactions, but for adults over 60, its influence on the nervous system, muscles, heart rhythm, and sleep becomes particularly important. One of magnesium's primary functions is calming the nervous system. It helps regulate how nerve cells fire and how signals are transmitted between the brain and the body. When magnesium levels are adequate, the nervous system is less reactive and more stable. This matters because with age, the nervous system tends to remain in a low-level state of alert more easily, even when the day is over. Magnesium helps signal that it is safe to slow down. Magnesium also supports muscle relaxation, including the muscles involved in breathing and the heart. It contributes to a steady heart rhythm and reduces unnecessary muscle tension. For many older adults, this effect is subtle, but over time it can make the difference between feeling restless in the evening and feeling physically settled. Sleep is where magnesium's role becomes especially clear. Sleep quality is not just about how long you stay in bed. It is about how deeply the nervous system is able to disengage from daytime demands. As we get older, sleep often becomes lighter and more fragmented. People may spend enough hours in bed, yet wake feeling unrested. Magnesium supports the depth and stability of sleep, rather than simply increasing duration. This is why evening timing works best for magnesium. At night, the body naturally shifts from activity into repair. Muscles recover, tissues rebuild, and the brain clears metabolic byproducts that accumulate during the day. Magnesium fits naturally into this phase. When taken in the evening, it reinforces the body's existing signals for rest rather than competing with daytime processes. There is also a practical advantage to evening use. Magnesium does not compete with vitamin D3 or vitamin K2 for absorption when it is taken later in the day. By spacing magnesium away from daytime supplements, each nutrient has its own window to be absorbed and utilized more efficiently. This separation supports smoother digestion and more predictable effects. It is important to emphasize that magnesium is not a more is better mineral. Higher doses do not necessarily lead to better outcomes, especially after 60. The body responds more favorably to steady, consistent intake than to large amounts taken irregularly. Rhythm matters more than intensity. When magnesium is provided regularly in the evening, the nervous system adapts without stress. For older adults, nighttime recovery becomes just as important as daytime activity. Magnesium supports that recovery quietly and reliably. When it is taken at the right time, it becomes part of a daily rhythm that allows the body to wind down, restore, and prepare for the next day with greater stability. When you step back and look at the entire picture, one pattern becomes very clear. Supplements do not work in isolation. They respond to the rhythm of your daily life. After 60, that rhythm often matters more than the exact dose written on the label. Morning light is one of the strongest signals you can give your body each day. Exposure to natural light early in the morning helps set your internal clock. That clock influences hormone release, digestion, energy levels, and sleep later that night. When this rhythm is aligned, nutrients taken earlier in the day are more likely to be recognized and used effectively. Gentle daily movement plays a similar role. This does not mean intense exercise. Walking, light stretching, or regular household activity is enough to improve circulation. Better circulation helps deliver nutrients to muscles, bones, and organs more efficiently. Movement also supports metabolic balance, which allows supplements to do their work more smoothly. Hydration is another quiet factor that becomes more important with age. The sensation of thirst becomes less reliable, and even mild dehydration can interfere with digestion and kidney function. Sipping water regularly throughout the day supports nutrient transport and helps the body maintain balance, making supplements more effective without changing the dose. Evening habits matter just as much. A calmer evening routine helps the nervous system shift into rest. Lower lighting, reduced screen exposure, and a predictable wind-down period supports sleep quality and mineral balance, particularly magnesium. When the body is allowed to settle naturally, nighttime recovery becomes deeper and more consistent. The key message here is simple. Supplements amplify a healthy lifestyle. They do not replace it. No pill can compensate for poor sleep, lack of movement, chronic stress, or irregular daily patterns. But when supplements are combined with light, movement, hydration, nourishing food, and rest, they become part of a system that works together quietly and steadily. After 60, health is less about forcing change and more about alignment. When your daily rhythm supports your biology, supplements stop feeling hit or miss. They begin to support strength, clarity, and resilience in a way that feels natural and sustainable over time. As we bring everything together, the logic of this entire conversation becomes very clear and very practical. During the day, vitamin D3 and vitamin K2 belong in the earlier part of your routine. Taken with food, aligned with daylight and movement, they support immune balance, bone strength, and metabolic stability without interfering with rest later on. In the evening, magnesium finds its place. Taken later in the day, it supports nervous system calming, muscle relaxation, heart rhythm, stability, and the kind of sleep that allows the body to truly recover. What matters most here is not chasing higher doses or adding more supplements. After 60, the body responds best to rhythm, not intensity. When nutrients arrive at the right time, they work quietly and steadily in the background. The benefits may not feel dramatic overnight. Instead, they tend to show up as steadier energy during the day, deeper sleep at night, and a gradual sense that the body is working with you rather than against you. This is the empowering part of the message. You do not need more pills. You do not need stronger formulas. And in most cases, you do not need to increase your dosage. What many people need is a simple adjustment in timing. By respecting your internal clock and working with your body's natural patterns, the same supplements you are already taking can begin to work more effectively. If you are over 60 and taking vitamin D, vitamin K2, or magnesium every day, I invite you to share your experience. Leave a comment below and let us know when you are currently taking them. Morning, afternoon, or evening, that awareness alone is often the first step toward better results. And if you want to continue learning calm, science-based, and practical guidance for aging well, subscribe to this channel. Here, the focus is not on fear or extremes, but on understanding how the body changes with age and how to support it intelligently. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I look forward to continuing this conversation with you.